In this lesson, we'll be discussing the difference between categoric and continuous variables. Now, on an exam, this question usually comes up in reference to the data that's being shown on the exam and how that data is being represented. So here's two examples of the data. Now, the example I've chosen here is data on global warming. So this bar chart here looks at per capita emissions, and this line graph here shows the atmospheric CO2 content rising. Now look at the difference between the two. One has distinct labels or categories, and another one has a continuous line going up, down, or down, up, depending on what the graph happens to be. Now let's take a closer look at the difference. Categoric variables. You'll notice that categoric variables are usually plotted on a bar chart, and the data can be described in labels or in groups. So for instance, this particular label here is a different type of country or group of countries. The US, the EU, China, India, and Africa. The difference here is that there's no in between. There's the US, and there's nothing really in between the US and the EU. There's nothing in between the EU and China. And that's the main difference there. This will come up again when we look at continuous variables. Look here. We have the rising levels of CO2 described in 1960, 1970, but look what's in between 1960 and 1970. 1961, 1962, 1965, etc., etc. And that's the difference. The data in a continuous variable can have any number value. Right there. All right, I hope that helps.